Hello there, it is Peggy McColl. Welcome back to the Manifestation Podcast. Today we're going to talk about the many benefits of being an author and what every author needs to know before they even write their first word. At this time of this podcast, I now have 18 books that are out there in the world. And as far as I know, they're sold in over 100 countries and translated into 37 languages, or I have books that have been translated into 37 languages. I've been on the New York Times bestseller list. I've made many of my books international bestsellers, and I am and have experienced great success being an author. Now, I'm not saying that to brag or to say, hey, look at me. I'm only saying that because I really understand this world of being an author now that I'm on the other side of 18 books. But prior to writing my first book, I honestly was ignorant. And I don't mean ignorant being rude. I mean ignorant meaning not knowing. I was ignorant on what was really required to create success as an author. There is an expression that goes like this: ignorance is bliss. And I want to tell you something. Being ignorant in certain areas is not bliss. It can be very dangerous. It can cost you a lot of time. It can certainly cost you a lot of money. And that was my experience. But if there's a desire or even an inkling of a thought, hey, I'm thinking about being an author, or I'm thinking about writing a book, I want to encourage you to follow through. Why? Because of the many, many, many benefits. And also, it is a heck of a lot easier now, today, to write a book, publish a book, and bring it out to the world than it's ever been. Plus, the benefits just keep going and going and going. It's kind of like that expression, it's the gift that keeps on giving. And so here is the first benefit that I found as a result of writing my book. Now, let me first of all set the stage. When I made the decision to write a book, I did feel fearful. I also had doubt. And the doubt was, who's going to want to read anything that I write? Another thought that I had was the thought that, what do I really have to write about? Who am I as far as being an expert in a certain area? But those are only paradigms. They're simply paradigms, and they're not supportive paradigms. Excuse me. They're actually paradigms that are destructive. They are paradigms that are debilitating. And what I want to do is not only help you get out of your own way, but help you understand what's really necessary to create success in the area of being an author and how it can help you in your life as well. So even though I had those thoughts initially, I decided I'm getting out of my own way. You see, I've been studying personal development and studying success at this point in my life for well over 40 years. But at the time I started to write or had the idea of writing, I'd only been studying it around 20 years. Now that's a significant amount of time. And I knew enough from studying success at that point in my life, all those years, that I didn't have to know how I was going to accomplish the goal. I also knew enough that if the desire was there, the way would be revealed to me when I connected to the outcome as if it was already done. So a lot of the principles around success were really incorporated into, and have all been incorporated into me creating success as an author. So I got inspired to write my first book. And even though I do not consider myself a great writer, I'm not even a fan of writing, the desire was there. And you don't have to be a great writer. Now, that was one of the great lessons that I learned very early in the game. And I want you to know that right now. So one of the greatest lessons that you need to know is that you do not have to be a great writer in order to write a book. English doesn't even have to be your first language if you want to write a book. I've worked with so many authors all over the world. Many of them, English is not their first language. Many of them are not great writers. Many of them didn't even know what to do or where to start. But if the desire is there, that is a great starting point. It is a perfect starting point to really get you on your way. The other lesson is, you don't have to know how you're going to create the success with your book. Now, what I suggest is get some goals for your book. Start to think about, what would I love? What would I love to have as an outcome or an experience with my book? So some of the outcomes might be New York Times best-selling author. Another outcome might be millions of people have bought my book and they love my book. Another outcome might be my book's been translated into X number of languages. Another outcome might be that your book becomes a lead generator, that it's actually helped you generate millions of dollars in profitable revenue in your life. Another outcome might be that you leave a legacy, so that even after you've left this earthly plane, that people are still benefiting from your wisdom, from your understanding, from your creativity, from your talent. One of those things, all of those things, some of those things. Those are all tremendous benefits that you can experience by deciding to write your book. The greatest lesson, though, that I have learned since I first became an author was a lesson that I learned months after my book had already been released and had been completed. Now, I self-published my first book. I have self-published some of my books. I have had publishers publish a number of my books. So I've been on the side of recognizing and understanding, what does it take to succeed as a self-published author, and what does it take to succeed as a published author. But here's the lesson that I earned very early, and I always will say, I speak all over the world, I do webinars and training, etc. So I always share this with aspiring authors or existing authors, and that is the following. When you have completed your book, meaning you've brought your book out to the world, 5% of your job is done. Now, I remember when I first heard that, I thought, what? There's work involved in writing a book and releasing a book to the world. And that's only 5% of the job? 95% of an author's responsibility, every author, whether you're published by a publishing house or not, whether you're self-published, is to market your book. You must learn how to market your book. It's the most important part of being a successful author if you want to create results, meaning sales of your book and accomplishments such as best-selling author, international best-selling author, New York Times best-selling author, and or creating a business as a result, or creating sources or multiple sources of income as a result of your book. Marketing is absolutely essential. So when I learned that, and of course I got over the shock of what? 95%, I decided to learn everything that I could about marketing. Now, I've been blessed with being in the industry of technology for many, many years. And when the World Wide Web really opened up, I was working for a company that was selling dedicated access to the internet. So I have been involved with the internet since 1995. I started registering domain names in 1995. I had my website set up, one of the first websites set up in the world. So I was one of the pioneers. I started marketing online, and I had to hire someone to actually program a shopping cart for me that was secure so that people could come to my website and buy my products, my books, my programs, my offerings, I had CDs, I had workbooks, I had guidebooks, I had created a lot of things. So I started marketing on the internet very early in the game. Now, again, I'm not saying that to brag. Why I'm saying that is to help you understand that I know what I'm talking about here, that I've been around the block and, I got the t-shirt, been there, done that, got the t-shirt. And so that I can help you create better results quickly or quicker if that is something that you desire. So learning how to effectively market online is something that every single author and entrepreneur should be absolutely focused on in their endeavors, in the initiatives to create great success online. So I created a program. I have a program called the Committed Author Program, or the Complete Author Program. It's called the Complete Author Program. And the reason why I created that and why it's called the Complete Author Program is because it really teaches all aspects of being a successful author, from the moment of thinking, hey, I like that idea of writing a book on what to write about, how to choose your topic and theme, how do you actually write it, multiple ways to write your book, because you don't even have to sit down with a pen and a paper or fingers on a keyboard and write nowadays. You could actually create the content for your book from many different ways, or in many different ways. There's a lot of ways to do that. And so what I love to do for people, for you, is to help people make this whole process simple. Help make it easy for you. The easier it is, the better it's going to go. And help you get out of your own way as well, because the more you're out of your own way, the better it's going to go for you as well. So I also want to invest a few minutes during this podcast to talk about what's involved in self-publishing and what's involved in publishing, the benefits and the challenges with each of those options, and what I believe every author needs to know from the perspective of which route to take, and understand what you need to know depending on which route you take in order to create greater and greater success as well. So let's look at the publishing world. What is the publishing world? Well, the publishing world are publishing houses. There's publishing houses like HarperCollins, Random House, Simon & Schuster. These are names, McGraw-Hill, that you may or may not be familiar with. And what they do typically is they secure the rights to an author's book, and that means that the publishing house then owns the rights to the book. Sometimes, not always, they pay an advance. An advance is simply that. It's an advance payment that's anticipating that you're going to earn money back as a result of your book selling. So if or when you secure a publishing contract or a publishing deal, what that says is that a publisher believes in your book, believes in you, recognizes that you know that you're going to have to do the marketing out there, and they'll secure the rights to your book. When they own the rights to your book, you still have to produce and write a manuscript. You have to submit it edited already. Now, they'll run it through their editors as well, but they're expecting to receive an edited manuscript in the format that was agreed upon in the contract that you enter. But even before you get to that point, if you want to go the route of a publishing house, you have to secure a literary agent. And in order to get a literary agent, you have to create a book proposal. And book proposals are something that I've written, number of book proposals. They've taken almost as long to write a book proposal as they did the book. And a book proposal is something that is really an overview of what the book is. It includes a sample chapter or 3. It has an outline of what the book will contain. It has a competitive analysis that basically says why your book is needed now and how it's different from some of the other exciting books that are already out there in that field. And then a solid marketing plan. You create something like that, that makes it very attractive. Now, you have to have that ready before you even secure a literary agent. Now, what does a literary agent do? A literary agent's responsibility is to sell your book idea to a publishing house, and they earn based on the contracts that you get. So let's say you got a contract for $10,000 to publish your book, and then you're going to bring that book out, you're going to market it, it's going to become a success, and then you earn royalties. Well, your literary agent is going to earn 15% of whatever you earn, and they receive the monies first if you have a literary agent that's working with a publisher. So if you secure a deal with a publishing house, let's say the advance is $10,000, they're going to take their $1,500 and they send you the balance. And of course, once you start earning royalties, they receive the royalty payments, they take their 15%, and you receive the balance. Now, how much do you earn per book when you're working with a publishing house? It depends. It depends on the contract, it depends on the publisher, and it depends on what your literary agent has negotiated. But most contracts with publishing houses are pretty standard. In other words, you're very likely going to earn around 8% for a certain format, like a trade paperback, and maybe 10% for hardcover version, and then another percentage for ebook version, another percentage for an audio version, and depending on the contract that you have with the publishing house, they will determine which versions they're going to sign up for. For example, a publishing house may say that they want every format of your book. trade paperback, hardcover, a large print version, audio version, e-version, electronic version. They may secure the rights to all of those versions. And your literary agent is going to negotiate that contract for you. Now, some people think literary agents do the marketing for you. They do not. Some people think that publishing houses do the marketing for you. They do not. And you really need to know that. Now, if you self-publish, which means you own the rights, which means you can set up distribution, and all of this is easy to do, and I can teach you how to do it. That's what I teach in the Complete Author program. This is exactly what I teach. I teach people how to write their books, how to complete their books, how to self-publish their book, how to market their book, how to make it a bestseller, how to make it a New York Times bestseller. I also teach people how to create multiple sources of income. Now, what I love about self-publishing and why I recommend self-publishing is because nowadays it is a whole lot easier to do. It's relatively quick to self-publish your book, and you own the rights. So what does that mean? It means if you decide to change it, you decide to change the title, you want to change the cover, you want to change the content, you want to create another version, you can do any of that. Plus, if a foreign rights publisher comes along and says, hey, I'd like to buy the rights to your book in another language, you can negotiate that yourself. Sure, you could get a lawyer involved if you want, but ultimately, what does it mean when you self-publish? All the freedom is yours. You have full control over what you do with the book and what you don't do with the book. And if you decide you've released a book and you brought it out to the world and you decide, I don't want to sell it anymore, maybe you want to put it out of print, you can do that. You have all the freedom in the world. Plus, here's what I really want you to understand. Because you have to do the marketing anyways, when you get your book out there in the world and you start selling your book and you start getting all kinds of sales, you're going to earn a lot more money per book or potentially going to earn a lot more money per book because of the agreement. So let's say you decide to self-publish your book and you bring it out to the world and you go through something called Kindle Direct Publishing. Well, with that, you're going to earn a certain amount of money per version of your book. So if you release your book in softcover, you're going to earn a certain amount of money. I think it's somewhere around 55%, somewhere around there. If you're going to release an electronic version, like a Kindle version as an example, you're going to earn more than that. So when you think about this, like this to me is almost like a palm to forehead, no-brainer, decision. So when you think about what the benefits are to you self-publishing and the potential amount of money that you're going to earn and the flexibility and the freedom that you have, don't you see that self-publishing is definitely one of the ways that you can go? Now, I'm not saying going through a publishing house is not a great idea or not the way to go. I have several of my books that have published through publishing houses. And yes, there have been wonderful benefits to publishing through publishing houses as well. But my latest book, which is called The Demand Principle, I self-published that book. And I self-published that book because of what I've just shared with you in the last 17 and a half minutes or 18 minutes, is the benefits that I know. So I want you to benefit from my experience. Like when I first became an author, I didn't have a mentor. I didn't have anyone guiding me or taking me by the hand and saying, okay, Peggy, here are the things you need to know to create great success in your life. So I was stumbling, I was falling. I felt like I was walking around in the dark, hitting walls. And not only was I, having all these challenges, but it was wasting time and I was wasting money, huge amounts of money, tens of thousands of dollars. So I made a commitment a number of years ago that I'm going to help others. I'm going to help others with creating their books. I'm going to help others create success with what it is that they want to do, with following their passion. And so I've done a number of things to do that. So I have something called the Author Marathon, which is really just the writing of the book process. And that's something easy to do. Write your book in 26 days because a marathon's 26 miles. So I thought, hey, listen, I've written a book in shorter periods of time than that. So the authormarathon.com you could check out. But the Complete Author Program, and actually you can go to the completeauthorprogram.com, is really the complete program, right? It's how to write the book, how to self-publish the book, how to publish the book. I give samples of proposals, and also how to make your book a bestseller, how to make your book an international bestseller, how to make your book an international bestseller. So that is available for you as well if you want to check it out. And then I do private mentoring. Now that's rare. It's rare that I do private mentoring. It's rare that I even have a space available. Might be available. You can find that on my website, peggymccall.com/1on1. You can find more information. But either way, I want to encourage you to really think about either writing your first book or your next book. I have 18 books, and there's no sign of slowing down. I have no intention of slowing down. Will I write another book? Very likely. Now, if you had asked me that when I was working on my first book, am I going to write more than one book? I hadn't planned on it. It wasn't intention at the time, but I was led to write another book and another book and another book. And you know, the benefits just keep on coming, like that gift that keeps on giving. So I want to encourage you, really check this out. Take this seriously. Take a look at what we have to offer and how we can help you, because I know we can help you accomplish that wonderful goal of being an author and being a successful, wildly successful author, perhaps even New York Times, if that's something that you would love. And if it is, I would love to guide you through the process. Now, if you like the Manifestation Podcast, share it with others. If you care about others, share it with others. Leave us a 5-star review as well. We are here to serve you. That's my responsibility, is to make a positive contribution to the lives of millions. And I'm doing that through the Manifestation Podcast, through the Manifestation Toolbox, through the morning manifestation messages that we deliver, and through all the programs that we deliver to you and for you at peggymccall.com. Either way, I wish you tremendous success, because you know what? You deserve it. All right, I'll see you again in the next Manifestation Podcast.